在本期的节目当中，我们的记者还有幸采访到了学生事务处副教务长郭健文先生。我们的记者就一些有关学生生活的问题对他进行了提问，比如说住宿、社团和学校设施等等。
郭健文先生同时也向我们所有广大留学生提供了一些建议以及鼓励，让我们来看一看。
My name is Quoc Kien Woon. This is the Singapore way of putting the Chinese characters. Usually we do it according to our family dialect, right? And the Chinese characters are 郭健文.
So the first question is, in the coming semester, are there any changes in school facilities and policies, and how can our students benefit from them?
There is one area which we are trying very hard to improve on, but it cannot be done overnight, and that is in the area of building more halls of residence or hostels. So we have plans to build 8 more hostels, of which the first set of 2 will be ready or should be ready in 2014. Now, of course, if I say this, it won't be benefiting the current students, but the future students. But always remember, in some ways, when we act as leaders, we are not only doing something for the present, we have to do something for the future. And some things need to have a number of years for it to be done. So we are we already have plans to build 8 more hostels. And starting from 2015, every year we hope to have new hostels. And we are also building 2 student hubs, one in the South Spine, which will come up first, and the other in the North Spine. And these student hubs are really the latest state-of-the-art technology for teaching and learning. And then beyond that, we are also increasing and improving the spaces for informal study and interaction. So if you walk around the North Spine, especially the student hub near the canteen and so on, we have more seats for study, for meetings, for discussion. For example, outside the bank and outside the student activity center. Next year at this time, at the beginning of academic year 2013, we will have a dedicated one-stop center for student services. And that will be situated next to the student activity center. And this is a place where students can go for all the services related to payments, related to questions concerning your academic services, student life services, and so on. I'd like to add one more thing, that when we do all these things, we are involving students. So for example, when we build a hall, the design involves consultation with students. So now that I know who you are and the student leaders from other clubs, we will invite you to come into these discussions. And this is part of the style at NTU, to try and have more discussion, to treat our student leaders as leaders, people who can also discuss with us how to improve things. We are not perfect. No university is perfect. No organization is perfect. But we all want to improve. And the way to improve is not by students thinking that they are consumers. They are not clients. They are not buying an education. And they are not saying, look, I pay my school fees, therefore I deserve to have this or to have that. The way to improve is to see all of us as part of a community, a university community, and to discuss and to implement good ideas.
One student asked, education is what is left after all that has been taught is forgotten. And do you agree with this sentence? And what do you think is the most important thing to learn in college?
Well, this also reminds all of us of the saying that education is not the same as schooling, right? There is strong emphasis on learning and especially self-learning. But at the university, the learning is really special. And sometimes you may need to unlearn, so that you can learn again from a new perspective. Instead of just being a consumer of food, we are hoping that our students will learn to cook and will learn about how to choose the ingredients, how to come up with their own dishes, how to become a chef intellectually. Right? So this kind of learning, I always tell my students, is something that nobody can take away from you.
Okay, NTU is always improving the student life to make NTU more competitive. And so could you tell us what do you think is the good parts in NTU student activities now, and what are the parts which need to be improved in the future?
Well, let me be very honest. All parts need to be improved, right? We can only do better. The first area that comes to my mind is what may be called health and student well-being. Right? It's not just staying healthy, but you also must be strong, resilient, to face all the challenges and also the stresses of life. No NTU student should ever end up feeling that he or she is alone when you feel that you need to talk to somebody, when you feel that you cannot cope with stress, right? But we cannot improve if students say, no, I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to live in a world of my own. Because nobody is an island. We must reach out to other people.
One more question and give some encouragement to the Chinese students facing the camera.
These 4 years should be some of the best years of your life. And it should be a time where, from the time you come in and when you graduate, you look back and you say, wow, I never expected that I could learn these things. I never expected that I could meet these friends. And for the international students, it's not only these friends from my own country, and it's not only these friends from Singapore, but these friends from India, from Europe, from America, from other Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, and so on. And wow, I learned how to learn. I also learned something about myself, how my mind and my body works. I also learned how to relate to other people. I also learned what it means to fail. A person who doesn't know what it means to fail cannot be successful. And a person who is successful will always have new challenges, which are maybe even more challenging, harder. So for all students, make the most of your university experience. And as I always say, you go to any university, it's not perfect, but when you put in something into the experience, you get more out of it. Try to go beyond. Right? University is about going beyond your own current level of skills and thinking, going beyond your comfort zone, going beyond mixing around only with the people that are like yourself. Try to learn something new about another. Next time when you go to graduate school, you may go to another country. It could be a Western country. Your experience at NTU is the start, because you will know how to interact with people from different backgrounds. Now, I will say this to the Singapore students. This is what they must also do, and it begins on campus. This is the best training ground for the world that our graduates will move into. My last point is that in NTU we must learn how to have personal regard for other persons, and the persons could be very different from ourselves, because it's so comfortable to say, oh, you know, I like my friend because my friend looks so much like me, speaks the same language, comes from the same background, and so on. It's harder to say I have personal regard for example, the person who cleans our toilets, you know, the person who sweeps the floor, you know, or somebody who is in trouble and we are trying to help in one way or another. And that somebody could be somebody very different from ourselves. So it doesn't mean that only NTU graduates should develop these qualities. But if we NTU graduates have these qualities, we will be recognized, and we may, at that time, the rankings in the world rankings may not as be important as having these qualities.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
加油!
Thanks.